The last few days, nothing has felt real. I've been thinking this all very well could be what life is. And if life is supposed to be this realest of real things, why does it all feel wrong? So I wrote a bunch of stuff down, and we'll go through the highlights. The first three things I wrote are: power is an illusion. Faces indicate nothing. Patterns aren't real. Those expand into: you will never catalog or pattern all variables, and the reality you believe you exist within is algae blooming over water you cannot see. Actually, there's a lot, but there isn't a whole lot, so we'll read through the whole thing, then parse out what's happening. Humans don't exist. You aren't real. No belief comes from within. Consciousness is a series of reflections culminating in wave-like images with no sources. You have nowhere to go because somewhere doesn't exist. Somewhere is another series of sourceless reflections distorting further and farther the more windows reflect them. Somewhere is an intangible snapshot of one wave. You believe in rays. Rays aren't real. Humans are streams through which your rays may examine other rays. Death removes a viewing stream, but not reflecting waves. Waves and rays are eternal. Sourcelessness is eternal. Reflection is eternal. Your unreality is eternal. You don't own yourself. Humanity is the lungs of breathing reflections. Gods are our waves. Gods view and shatter each other through glass human algae. You are an impermanent, formless doorway. You are a measure of what reflections can view through you. You are a ripple of water you cannot see. You are a temporary movement within the surface of a lens viewing lenses. Waves and reflections can disappear. Without sources, waves, rays, and reflections can go anywhere and become anything. Without a source to reference, reality has no measure. Reflections aren't real. You propagate sourceless unreality. Your body and dress are reflections of reflections. Your feelings don't belong to you or originate from within you. Your feelings are waves, reflections, expressing themselves through you to be received, then reflected through others. You are one of many formless doorways. Power in reflection. Kratom makes your skin scaly. Death is a ripple on water, not a loss of waves or rays or an end to reflection. You don't matter. You are not a source. You are a stream, a doorway, and a mirror. You are what you reflect. Your reflections have no sources. The waves, rays, and reflections you reflect existed forever before you, and they will exist forever after you. You don't exist. Your body, your memory, and your effects will become separate reflections, doorways, and streams. Your consciousness is a reflection. Your reflection has no source. You don't control yourself. You aren't yourself. Gods are waves and rays viewing and moving themselves and each other through you. You have no control over yourself or your life. Your decisions are reflections passing through you. You generate nothing. Your body, mind, and soul are reflective algae on transparent fluid you believe is a culmination of self, time, willpower, and decisions, but is actually a genetic and mimetic stream focused only temporarily. One moment of one angle of one reflection, through which other reflections will reflect before itself, radiating into other waves and rays in response. Now, what does all that mean? Well, one of the things I've been struggling with is, as I get better at interacting with people, I get worse at connecting with people. That's because people don't seem like individuals, like people. They seem like windows through which you can view other people, cultures, ideas, even environments. They seem more like a lower spot of ground into which mimetic and genetic influences have pooled for a little while, not individuals. And you and I are the same way. Have you ever analyzed how much of what you are and what you believe is you? You didn't generate your body. Your body is a reflection of other reflections of other reflections. Your dress is a reflection of other reflections. Your ideas come from other people, either in your accepting them, rebelling against them, or modifying them. They are reflections. Your language is a reflection. Your dialect is a reflection. When you consider those things, you realize you are not a concrete pillar. You are one moment of one angle of one ripple of water. People, quotes, are less individuals and more concentrations of what reflections, what memes and genes you can see pushing through them and what you can see looking into them. And everything is a reflection, not just people. Everything is an echo or reflection or a reaction to something else. However, because there is no original source, everything we see, are, and believe are reflections of reflections. They're waves radiating around and becoming completely different things. But without a source, you can't measure it. You can't measure waves. You can't measure reflections, not really. You can measure them only in reference to other things without sources that are always changing. Meaning you have no means, no consistent means of measuring anything. I used the word gods because those seem to be the only consistent-ish patterns you'll see in reflections. Strings of reflections twined together enough you can see them for a while. And when you speak with people or look at societies, you'll see different gods pushing through them into reality until those inevitably get torn down and or people die and the reflections change again. And when I say you aren't real or you aren't yourself, what I mean is you aren't a concrete pillar, you're a doorway. And what you think you are, or what other people think you are, is not you, it's the collection of your most prominent reflections. Meaning, you, quotes, could be anything or anyone else, because all you are is a doorway. And if those reflections changed, you would change. You would no longer be, quotes, you. If you were born to different parents or you were born in a different culture, your body chemistry were slightly different, making you receptive to different influences. If you encountered different people, experienced different things, read different things, your influences would be different, and you wouldn't be you anymore. You, as a doorway, would have different reflections reflecting through you and reflecting outward. You wouldn't exist anymore. You would be someone completely different. Everything you are, do, and believe is a temporary reaction or reflection of other reactions and reflections. Everything you do is a reaction, not a creation. And you are not a reflection of what you think yourself is. You are a measure of your collected genetic or mimetic influences. You, a snapshot of one angle of one body of water, might be concentrated enough for a god to come through, but even that would mean you are a doorway for a particular string of influences to come through, reflections from other people concentrated in one point, but the people, ideas, or environment you're reflecting are just reflections. The God you're channeling is itself a reflection. All of them have no sources, and they will change soon enough. They'll become something completely different. So when you're dealing with a person, you're dealing with a series of responses, of reflections, not a single point. When you're looking in the mirror or reevaluating your life, you're not looking at yourself. You are looking at a concentration of reactions, or a spasm, something other things caused that will cause other things. And if you try to measure all these influences to catch them, you're going to get nowhere and drive yourself mad, because you're trying to pin down or take a hammer and nail to light, something formless, trying to nail down water. You might be able to map some things sometimes, but once the water shakes around, that map disappears, because all you had was a snapshot of one moment of one angle. Nothing has a concrete source. You're trying to map something formless from a formless vantage point. That's why people start looking like patterns, but you can't really pattern them. Everything is flowing, but those directions can change at the drop of a hat. Recognizing reflections are happening doesn't give you any insight into their sources, because there is no source. Everything is a reflection of a reflection of a reflection. Reflections, influences, are the only things that are real, but you can't pin them down because they have no source, and you can't map where they're going. All you can observe are the effects they're having on doorways, on people, and the ways those influences influence other influences. In essence, it makes other people not seem real. It makes you not seem real. And when you look at people, you start thinking, what made you? Not who are you, but what made you? And then looking into yourself, thinking, what made me? And what am I reflecting in them? What are they reflecting in me? Because our reactions to each other are not two individuals' reactions to each other. They are series of influences' reactions to each other, creating their own reaction, which will cause something completely different. And the reflections constituting the both of you have existed before you, and they'll exist after you. And once you're dead, your ideas and your rotting body, your effects on the world, reflections in and of themselves, will become things other reflections reflect off. Reactions other reactions will react to. Those reactions, or those series of reactions, gods, are what really matter, because they're going to form the most reactions, but they themselves have no sources. They are just larger trends of reactions or reflections caused by former reactions and reflections. I don't have a book club summary ending for this one. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. None of it matters, but it's also important. But thanks again for watching, everybody. Really, we have a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, you can be a culmination of reflections of fun. And you can reflect that fun to other people. And that's so much fun we have on this channel. And I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.